In the summer of 2017, I had a really crazy idea. I decided that I would like to talk to one stranger a day. In that challenge, I talked to more than 100 people, and this experience taught me more than I have ever learned in my life about people. This is a story of why did I decide to do that, and what did I learn when I went through this whole experience. Before I tell you why I did that, I have to take you a while back to when I was a kid. I was the eldest kid in my family, which meant that I didn't have any brother and sisters for a while. But even when I had brothers and sisters, I was the kid who was away from all the playing. I was the kid in the corner reading newspapers, books, anything that I could lay my hands on. I was not the most popular kid, and I was not, obviously, the most extroverted kid. This meant that I had very little communication abilities. I had very little confidence in talking to other people. Growing up in the school and in the university, I was not the kid who would go out on the stage to act or debate or do these kind of things. I was mostly interested in some sports and also interested in writing. But eventually, this introverted nature came to a big problem when I first came to Estonia. Now, my first 2 years in Estonia, I was in the master's program where we had people from all over the world. It wasn't so bad because we were constantly in touch with each other and we had a circle of friends around each other that helped each other. But in my third year, after I had done my master's and I had my job, I eventually came to a realization that this is not going to work, that being an introvert is going to be a huge problem. I'll probably die without a friend alone here if I continue to be like this. Unfortunately, there weren't many areas where I could explore. Estonia is the introvert capital of the world. People here are notoriously introverted and closed. If you think you're introverted, you should come here and then you'll find out how much introverted you really are. It's not the easiest of places. In order to overcome that, I decided to do quite a few different things. I decided to take part in social dancing. I decided to take part in improv theater. All of these things really helped, but I didn't get the kind of confidence and results that I hoped. I didn't get to meet new people. So then eventually, in the summer of 2017, I finally decided that I am going to talk to a stranger a day, no matter what. In the beginning, it was really difficult. So I first started out by talking to people who I would normally see every day, even though they were strangers. So for example, a cashier saying something nice to them or saying something in Estonian to them, or somebody around you, maybe your neighbor. And then eventually on my daily commute, when I would take a train every day to work, I would find people who were interesting and I would just go and talk to them. In this time of 3 months, roughly, I talked to 100 people. By the end of this time, I was so confident that I could talk to anybody, anywhere, at any time, and it still persists to that day, even though I still call myself an introvert. So what happened in those 100 days? What were the notorious highlights of these 100 days? And I want to share 3 stories about that time. The first time I remember is I was at work and I was on a lunch, and then I was coming back home and I saw a little old lady carrying a trolley, and she was facing a little bit of difficulty carrying it. So I just came to her and then I offered my help in the broken Estonian that I knew at that time. And to my surprise, she replied in English, even though she was Estonian. Now you have to understand that people who are older age in Estonia would maybe speak Russian, but probably not English. I spoke to her. She told me about her children living in the US, and she was so fluent and she was so cheerful I can tell you that I have hardly met younger people who were as cheerful and fluent as she was. We talked a lot, I walked her to the bus stop, I sent her on a bus, and then she became part of a memory. If I wasn't going through this experience, I would probably never have the guts to go up to her and then offer to help her. Now, the second story is when I was going to work on the train, and there was this one girl who went in from one of the train stops and she sat right in front of me. I said hello and we started talking. The girl was really pretty, but she had a sort of sadness around her, and I could feel it. Going back, I told her that, you look really, really well, and you're one of the prettiest people that I have seen today. And would you like to see again? And she said, maybe. And it never really came to fruition, but the only thing she ever told me later was that that day that she was really sad and that she was depressed, and me talking to her and me complimenting her made her day. Now, obviously, I wouldn't recommend this to everybody because it takes a lot of sensitivity and it takes a lot of awareness to be able to look at someone and then compliment them. But then also, most important thing is that you are aware of the other person and how they're feeling. The third and the most interesting story happened after 5 years of this experience. By this time, I wasn't actively talking to any other people, but as I said, I was confident enough that if I saw someone that I was interested in, I would go up and talk to them. I was walking with my Estonian friend from my old education days. I've known him for like 7 years by then. And we were talking and we were walking and we were in this area of Noblesner Port. As you know, it's one of the very new and hip areas. So I was walking by and I saw this really huge and bulky guy wearing a three-piece suit with a little bit of earpiece in his ears. And I thought, what is that person doing there? The person stood out so much that I thought, wow, this is strange. Beside that person was another person, and that had like a white beard. And as soon as I saw him, I realized, oh my god, this is the Estonian president, Alar Karis, which is the current president of Estonia as well. And I told my friend that we should go and talk to the president because you don't get that opportunity every day. My Estonian friend was reluctant, even though he is one of the most like confident, extroverted and outgoing people I know. He was still reluctant, like he was a little bit cautious or a little bit worried that, of course, Estonians and especially the Estonian president have their own space around them. What would they do when somebody comes to them? But anyway, I just told him that we should go and then talk to him. So I went up to him and then I said hello, and then my friend Tavi introduced himself in Estonian, and even I tried to impress him with a little Estonian that I had learned by that time. The president was surprisingly cordial. I told him that I was an engineer and he said, oh yes, we do need engineers in Estonia. And then I told him that the people, especially from non-EU countries, are facing a lot of difficulty in getting the appointments to the visa. I have made videos on that topic too. And he was very accommodating and very cordial about noting down that issue. And he said that he will talk to the relevant authorities about this. Now, this is one of the best stories that I can tell you, especially about Estonia. For a lot of people, it might not mean much because in Estonia, celebrities and politicians, as like in many other Western European countries, are not treated as celebrities as they are, for example, in North America. People here just think them as other people. We also have to realize that these people who are at a certain position in their life, especially if they are politicians or if they are actors or if they are celebrities or if they're, I don't know, even influencers, then they have been here after a certain amount of work. No matter how small or large that work is, they have a certain amount of influence, and there is something that we can do, and we should go up to them and then we should definitely talk to them, not necessarily asking something, but sometimes even expressing our admiration, or if there's something that we like about them or maybe something that we don't like about them. Needless to say, this was one of the most interesting experiences of my life, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't make that challenge, if I didn't overcome this insecurity that I have, that if I come to a stranger, that I will, somehow be shunned, or people will be offended of me going up to them. So, to summarize, should you attempt this challenge, should you talk to a stranger a day? And I think it matters on a lot of different things. I had to turn to drastic measures because I was really tired and frustrated and lonely, and I wanted to do something, and I wanted to challenge myself to do something. But I don't think it's necessary that it would work for everyone. As I said, there are different things for different people. But if you care for some adventure in your life, if you want something, if you want some new experiences, and you're not afraid of being shunned or being rejected, then yeah, this is something that you should do. But please be aware and please understand that communication between two people does not always happen through words. It's majority of it is unconscious. And if you are at calm and at ease and a little joyful inside, even though you won't say much words, people will sense it and people will naturally radiate those feelings back to you. That is my only advice if you want to go ahead and talk to 100 people. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll come up with more stories in the next week. Thank you, and bye bye.